Let's challenge ourselves to never say why again. Instead, there's better questions to ask, and you can already feel the shift. What? How? What is this situation encouraging me to learn or to do or to be? How can I step forward and maybe step out of the situation that I no longer want to be in, that I don't resonate with any longer, because I'm done with that. I'm done with this story. It's over. I don't want this story anymore.
Welcome to the Baggage Begun Healing Hearts and Minds podcast. I'm your host, Tami Mahmali, a spiritual guide and hypnotherapist. I'm here to guide you on this healing journey toward holistic and spiritual well-being with ease. Each week, we will dive deep into the realms of self-discovery, offering you valuable tips, strategies, and actionable steps to help you restore harmony in your mind, body, and soul. Welcome to the Baggage Begun podcast. I'm so thrilled to have Rachel with us today because we have a truly special guest who embodies freedom, empowerment, and holistic healing. Our guest today is Rachel Galloway, a mother of 3 beautiful daughters, a master practitioner, and a holistic healer who has dedicated her life to helping others to live in freedom, health, and joy. Rachel's journey from battling physical ailment to living a life completely free from medication is nothing short of inspiring. She's deeply connected to herself and those around her, continually exploring new paths in healing, including her studies with Dr. Sue Morder through the Morder Institute in bioenergetic healing. Rachel is also certified heavy metal detox specialist and the master practitioner of NLP programming, trained by Dr. Matt James. Her work focused on detoxing the body, mind, releasing trauma and baggage stored in unconscious mind to unlock true healing and alignment. Today we will dive into Rachel's incredible journey and explore how we can all tap into our own empowerment and create life of freedom and joy. Rachel, thank you so much for being here today.
Oh, Tammy, thanks for having me. I'm so excited to be here. And we actually met through master practitioner training with Dr. Matt. And I've had the privilege to work with you. And, for those of you that follow Tammy, no surprise, she is such a bright light, such a bright, inspirational spirit. And she is my sister. And I'm just so thankful to be here with you today. So it's an honor.
I will just add that you are a really special to me, and I see you as a gift. And I wanted to interview you today for this podcast because I benefited a lot from meeting you and working with you. I even went through your program and it was phenomenal. So I want people to hear about it, share your methods so people understand how powerful it is working with you and understanding that there is so much outside help, so much holistic help that we can tap into that it's unknown to us. And through this interview, I hope people will get more understanding of it. You have been on such a transformative journey. Can you
Yeah.
share with us a bit about what you do and how you guide others on their path to healing?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And, the first thing I want to say and share is that community is everything. And so, there are so many people and so many modalities and wherever people are at. And I don't even care to say the word journey anymore because journey has that internal representation that there's an end. And it's like, all right, well, we're moving towards something, like the hero's journey in literature, which I studied literature in college. It's just like, okay, you get on a boat, you go through all these hardships, and then at the end, you're with your family again. And happily ever after. Well, that's a journey. There's a beginning and there's an end. And that's literally not what life is about. So when we're always striving on this journey, we're always looking to the next thing. We're looking for the next pill. We're looking for the next job. We're looking for the next. And the challenge with that is that you miss now. You miss life now. You miss living now because you're always looking, you're seeking, you're searching. So I just want to bring to the table right now, let's just kind of shift that perspective and start to be very present in where we're at, and wherever we're at is perfectly perfect, and we're on this journey of life and expansion, because there's always more to learn, there's always more to experience, there's always more to grow in, to expand in, and that is what is so exciting about life, because there's always more, always. There's not an end point. So I just want to share that, because that's something that I've needed to also shift in my mind, in my body, and in my perspective. With that perspective, I'm super happy to share some of my experiences, and yeah. But I wanted to just kind of put that out there first.
Just listening to you, my whole body is relaxing. I feel like it's calming me to know that being present in our body it's the started point. Understanding that where we are right now in our journey is just good enough. We don't need to do more. And this is the freedom. And I hear you talking a lot about being in the state of freedom, joy. So, what it means to you, and how can other people start to feel that way in their own life?
Oh, it's okay. And that gives you the freedom to choose. You get to choose. And whether you're choosing to, be in a place of fear, anxiety, worry, stress, that's okay. And you can also start to recognize, I also have the freedom to no longer choose that space. I want to choose something else. I want to choose to go in this direction. I want to choose to open up my experiences a little bit more. How do I do that? Well, let's just think about something practical. When was the last time you did something for yourself from a place of joy that has nothing to do with money, has nothing to do with responsibilities, and it has nothing to do with I have to, I should, I whatever? When was the last time you've done that for yourself? And a lot of people can say, I don't know. I'll get to it. I'll get to it after I finish this. I'll get to it after I complete this. Or I'll get to the beach when I look like this. So, once again, you're not living in the now or the present. And many of us may not even remember what brings us joy. And when you stop and think about, getting quiet within the self, what do I actually like to do? What what is a fire within me that maybe I used to have when I was younger, or something that brought me through a hard time where, I'm not the greatest singer, but I remember going through a challenging time, and so I decided to learn music, and I decided to start singing, or decided to start jogging, or something for you. Okay. And it can look like anything. Now, Tammy, we know you're an incredible artist. I mean, the first time I saw some of her paintings and sketches, and She recently completed a children's book, an inspirational children's book. By the way, you guys got to read it, give it to all your kids. It's freaking incredible. But you do it, you create from a place of freedom and joy for fun. Don't put anything on it. So that's the first question. Now, I know I may be kind of flip flopping all over the place. And I also want to get out some really challenging things that you may not have asked yourself in a while. Because when we tend to stay in a place in our mind, it's that spinning mind, the doing mind, where it's like, oh my gosh, I got to do this, I got to get this done, or whatever you're thinking about the most. Sometimes I call it, you're circling the toilet because it's never ending. You're just swimming around in circles and circles and circles. It's not good or bad, but it can also just keep you in a place where you're not operating in joy. What does that look like in freedom? What does that look like? Well, I'll get there. I'll get there after I finish this. Guess what? Red flag. It's never done. The spinning mind will always spin. It always has more for you, and that's okay. And you can also choose to step out of that. You could choose to step out of that. So it's like, well, how do I step out of that? Well, that's the first question. Get quiet in yourself, get present with yourself. Just even get outside, get in nature, sit down for 5 minutes, breathe, look at the trees, and ask yourself, okay, what is one thing that sounds really fun to me that has nothing to do with anyone else? Because we're here as already whole, complete beings to experience life. And what we choose to do in experiencing life, yes, we get to experience with our partners, with friends, with our children, but it's not about them. It's about us. It's about us as whole individuals. And so I want to challenge everyone out there listening. What are you doing as a whole individual? Who are you being first? And then allowing the doing to flow from that. Because we have it backwards. We do, because one day after we do all the things, we're finally going to get to be who we are. Well, that's an illusion. That's an illusion. It's backwards, because the reality is you already are who you are. So settle back and say, hi, who are you? I want to learn me. I want to be me. I want to be in this place of joy and freedom and love and life, and go from there. And go from there. And it's the limitations that we have in our mind, but we have the capability of embracing all of it. And we could talk a little bit more about that, because that has to do with spirit, mind, and body connection. So right now I was just kind of talking a little bit about the separateness that we can be living through from the mind, the limited mind, which is not good or bad. Some people refer to it as the ego mind. I The ego mind is okay, and there can also be some negative internal representations around the word ego, and some people are like, oh, ego is bad. It's not bad or good. So I like to, and I'm going to echo Dr. Sue Morter, where she talks about that side of the busy mind, the monkey mind. It's a protective personality. Doesn't that feel better? It's not good or bad. It wants to protect you. It wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you alive from running from the bear. And yet, what happens when you stop running from the bear? The mind keeps running because it forgot to switch off and get reconnected to who we are in our wholeness. So that was a lot.
from life, let's say body mind connection or others around
Mm.
them, practices or mindset shifts would you suggest to help them reconnect and feel more aligned? Just simple steps that you take, because I remember working with you was very helpful to me, because you could move me through the process so quickly. And I think people are going to benefit understanding how important it is to balance ourselves in order to be and then do and then have, and not the opposite. Do, have, and then be.
Yes, of expansion for me and my own, um and where I'm at today, which is pretty cool. So I like to tell my story backwards, but for the sake of the podcast, I'll tell it, from the past to now. So we all start with a story, a limited story, and who we are. And my story involves, I got married. I had my first child at 26. And when I was 26 years old, I used to be a dancer. I was very fit. I was very athletic. And with the pregnancy of my child, I got very, very sick. Um, I gained so much weight. I had severe depression. My skin was covered with acne and boils, and I was very lethargic. I developed hypothyroidism. I was so swollen where basically they had to do an emergency cesarean because I started to poison the baby, and the baby was poisoning me. I had preeclampsia and eclampsia. So these were all the diagnoses set upon me. And, once you get that diagnosis, it kind of gets stuck in your mind. This is who I am. I am this, 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 and this. And I remember going to the doctor. Now, remember, I'm 26 years old. And I remember going to the doctor, severely depressed, severely overweight, just can't even get out of bed. I can't take care of my child. And, trying to get my thyroid regulated. And basically, the doctor said to me, I mean, I'm paraphrasing, uh, yeah, sucks. This is your life, pretty much. I was told, and, I accepted it because we accept whatever we're told, especially when it's kind of a traumatic situation, because our mind, once again, we're in a state of trauma and we're just like in survival mode. Oh my gosh, what do I do to survive? I don't want to die from all these conditions. I guess I need to do XYZ. Okay, so I'm also very stubborn and I refused. I was like, okay, this is not acceptable. Like I can't accept that. So that kind of started my journey and exploration a little bit more away from conventional medicine, because I did that for years and years and years. And although it helped to manage some symptoms, it was it never got to the root. It just dealt with some symptoms, but there was still more to dive into. And that led me to Dr. Mindy Pels, and finding out that my body temple, I call it my body temple, and later, it may or may not come up, but our bodies, the vehicle in which we get to live life through, these amazing, incredible bodies that we get to have. I was tested for heavy metal toxicity, and I had extremely high levels of lead. And so that led me down the path of becoming a certified heavy metal detox specialist. Well, first I worked with Dr. Mindy Pels to help personally detox. I got certified, and then I started working with her and for her company. And she's just such a fabulous being of light and love. And she's helping so many women out there, specifically now with fasting and menopause. You guys should look her up. She's awesome. So I worked with her, and then it was actually through Dr. Mindy that led me to Dr. Matt James, because I was working with one of our clients who had a lot of mercury toxicity, which mercury tends to kind of stay stuck in the brain, which, some of the bodily symptoms that present are, short-term memory loss. And I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but that's one main one, is short-term memory loss, mercury in the brain. So I remember talking to one of our clients, and it was on a Zoom call. So it was a collective group. And the woman had asked the same question maybe 20 times. And remember, she had the mercury. She was very high in mercury. I think I answered her very kindly the first 19 times. And the 20th time, I was like, did you hear me the first 19 times? I said blah, 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 blah. And Dr. Mindy and Jessica, you need to check out her company, Freely Rooted. They just came up with these incredible shoes. They're like barefoot shoes for children. She's phenomenal. She's incredible. So anyway, but I digress. So both of them kind of looked at each other, and they were like, Rachel needs a little bit of communication skills. her communication skills need to be finessed a little bit for our people. So that led me to Dr. Matt James and neurolinguistic programming, and taking the 4-day prac, which I highly recommend for everyone to take. It is just, and Tammy, you took the 4-day prac as well. And it's just such a beautiful environment. And it doesn't matter what your job is, what you do or don't do. Like, this course is just so beautiful for communication and learning how others communicate on, all the different gamuts. So that led me there. And all of a sudden, all these things just started clicking into place for me, where I love people and I love communicate, and I have and continue to be in my own healing, expansive journey. And I recognize that, oh my gosh, here is another layer that I didn't know about to get to an even deeper root of healing. So I had done really well from a physical body temple point of view with the heavy metal detox, changing of, the diet and fasting and all of that stuff. And it worked until it didn't. Okay. So just hear me, because it all of these modalities are important and they're beautiful. Okay. So they're all very important and they're very beautiful. And for me, I needed to go through and experience that modality to be able to unpeel the next layer of, some people say onion, but I like rose. I like a flower. You're like unpeeling the petals, or like they're opening up gently and beautifully to reveal what's underneath that, right? So after unpeeling that layer and going through the training that Tammy's also gone through as a master practitioner, neurolinguistic programming, which is communication, MER, which is mental and emotional release, and hypnotherapy, you're starting to dive more into the spiritual realm, the energetic realm in our mind and in our body. Now, it wasn't presented that way, but that's literally what it is, because we are energetic beings. So our mind, and where we store emotions, where we store unresolved emotions, trauma, etc., that was the next layer for me, where I was holding on to things in my subconscious mind that I was not aware of. And so that was kind of the next layer to unfold in deep healing. And it's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal because what happens is when we hold on to these things, now remember our minds, our bodies are here to protect us. They're actually on our side. And if you're hating your body and you're like, you're not on my side, here's that down to the cellular level. And then you start to believe it that I hate my body. It's not on my side. It's not working for me. It's working against me. Well, guess what it's going to respond to? I hate this body. I'm not going to work for Rachel. I'm not on her side. I'm going to fight against her. Yeah, it just listens. It listens to what you're telling yourself. Absolutely. The cells listen, they respond. So, and, Tammy, it'd be cool for you to kind of piggyback a little bit on this, where we can stop and tap a little bit into the importance of mental and emotional release and how this deeper layer of healing, it just opens you up even more into a place of freedom in yourself. What was some
Yeah.
of your experience with that?
So it's layered, but working with you opened for me so many areas of my life that I was hoarding in terms of hiding and not allowing myself to express myself freely. Even within my art, it was always guarded. And when we started working together, I remember I started using colors, different mediums.
Yes.
People don't know that about me, but for years I was stuttering when I needed to speak in public because English is my third language. I speak Farsi and Hebrew. I think it's because I was afraid. Fear was holding me back because I grew up in a multicultural family. And a lot of time there was a lot of miscommunication. And when I said something, they either will laugh or they were sarcastic. So I perceived that as something wrong with what I'm saying. So I was afraid to speak up. And as you most of you know, if you are right now marketing yourself, you have a business, you're on social media, what you need to do is speak up and be on social media. And I couldn't do that as much as I wanted. And if you look at and the transformation, if you paid me in 2016 or 2018, I opened my Instagram, I will not speak a word out loud in any of the reels or videos. And here I am slowly, 2020, I start showing up my art and whatever it is. After I worked with you, all of a sudden, this gate of awareness opened up and I started speaking freely. And I thank God I stopped stuttering. Even today, I might repeat my words, but I'm not judging it anymore. I'm just so compassionate. A lot of time behind the scene after I do a video that used to take a whole day because energetically I will be drained. It usually takes 2 to 10 minutes max. I write everything, write down I love you. I'm so proud of you because my inner child for many years was very angry at me. I used to force myself into everything and talking today about the joy and freedom. Joy and freedom wasn't apparent or my experience when I started my business. I started with 100 painting, 100 days. You can go back like million years ago, 6 years ago. I don't remember how many years ago when I started. I got my degree and right away I thought it's supposed to be like punishment and hard work. And the second I stopped that behavior and I brought more joy and freedom and expansion, everything else opened up. I got the most amazing helpers. I got people like you into my life. I got the best, most beautiful client that are happy and they sending me emojis and the most beautiful testimonial. And even my children's book came to fruition. I'm gonna show it because we talked about it, not to, and it's not marketing purpose. It's just to show the love.
It's
That was
beautiful.
complete after we worked with each other because I wrote the book before COVID, 2019. I couldn't illustrate. And if you know me, I used to create one painting a day. I have million paintings, probably few thousand, and I couldn't get into the illustrations until I went to Israel a year or 2 years ago, and I sat there and I started. The girl just came inside me going to Israel, and those artworks started coming up inside the airplane. My grandparents and me, I love them, and it
Look,
was
I'm
me that
crying.
yeah, it was me, the girl that didn't have clothes because my parents immigrated to Israel, and my mom didn't know to speak Hebrew, and she was alone. She left her family behind, and the only first dress that my dad bought for me was this yellow dress. He bought for my sister a similar dress. I think it was blue and white, and I love this dress, and it came up with an empowerment while I was in the country that I was raised in as an authentic voice. And this happened after we worked with each other. And this is beautiful girl affirmation for little queens, because each one of you is a little queen, and everything is possible when we come out of these limiting beliefs that, as you said, we hoard them in our subconscious mind, and we think they keep us safe. But after working with you and looking at them and seeing that all these fears and all these things that were keeping me like safe, they were actually the things that were not letting me express who I am. And after we finished working together, I just decided to be authentic. I had to close a chapter, this chapter
Mm,
that I guiding everyone with my art, selling. I have a shop with fabric that I was designing, with paintings. I was teaching people, gift shop, and I closed that, and I
mhm,
started going full time into holistic healing, hypnosis, helping others to clear their mental and emotional baggage. And I love that, but I will not be able to do it when I was hoarding my energy by saying, "Oh, I can't do that. What are people gonna say? I'm an artist." Da, 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 da. I had to stop the chatter, like you said, the toilet circling in
mhm.
my.
The toilet.
That's after you let go of the energy. When the energy
Yeah,
circulates, you're free. You're in joy. You can
yeah.
dance. You are yourself. And to be like, I stopped lying.
Mm,
Biggest reward that I got. I can be myself, not smiling fakely, not having to people please. That's the best reward that I get. Like most days, I wake up, there is no mind chatter that, what did you do today? Who I need to forgive? Who I need to ask for forgiveness? I don't need to do that. And
yeah.
that's the what happens when we do this work, because the baggage is gone. No fear, the fears, they may come today, but
Mhm,
the residue of the emotional baggage from before, it's not existing. I forgave and I let go. Now I'm clear and I can make the video. I can speak up. I can call and tell people I love you. I know if I'm in the right now, in the present, divinely guided, all is well. God
mhm.
is hand and everyone else's hand. So thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, in the now, there's not gonna be other challenges that come forward right now. But at the same time, when we no longer have the past to define the present, you're able to move through in a different place than you may have before, because there's no longer a meaning or an energy connected to this current present situation. No longer, okay, this challenge presented itself, but instead of going, well, back in the past when so and so did this to me, X, Y, and Z, then I had to hold on to it for the, see how the story clouds this present situation that literally has nothing to do with whatever happened 10 years ago. But we bring those stories with us and then we shift it into the present and then it becomes the same story. So when we choose and come to the place of, I'm tired of that story. I'm tired of dating the same person. I'm tired of moving around, the country, and I end up in the same place every single time, surrounded by the same friends, the same this, because it's the same pattern in which we are living our life through. So, and I always like to say, one day we get to a point, or we don't, whatever, it's fine. Either way, there's no judgment either way, because remember, it's about us. It's about us as individual whole beings. So we have the freedom to do or not do whatever we want. Um, for me, I finally got to a point where, am I going to let life do me? Or am I going to put my pants on and say, all right, Rachel, it's time to do life. What does that look like? And part of that is shifting out of the lower level question of why. And I want you just to stay with me a moment and listen to why. Why did this happen to me? Why am I always surrounded by negative people? Why can't I lose weight? Like, why? Why is life so horrible? Why? All right, let's shift that, and let's just shift that question, and let's challenge ourselves to never say why again. Instead, there's better questions to ask, and you can already feel the shift. What? How? What is this situation encouraging me to learn or to do or to be? How can I step forward and maybe step out of the situation that I no longer want to be in, that I don't resonate with any longer, because I'm done with that. I'm done with the story. It's over. I don't want the story anymore. What can I do to create a new story for myself? For myself. And then, therefore, everything will shift around you as you create your story. What can I do? How can I do it to do life instead of having life do me? So that's the shift in perspective. And that leads us to the next of my expansion and finding Dr. Sue Morter, digging deeper into bioenergetic healing. And, through all of these different modalities, it's really interesting to connect with, and of course, since we just talked about life is all about you. And I want to say that, and I want you to hear the vibration behind that, because you're not here to fix other people. You're not even here to fix yourself. And you know why? Because there's nothing to fix. You come here as a complete, whole being. You're a beautiful, whole, healed, light being, a spirit being. However you resonate with that is perfectly perfect. It doesn't matter. Think about, I love this visual of, life energy, God, source, Allah, whatever. It's this beautiful sun, and we are all individual sunbeams, completely connected to the sun. And what happens with sunbeams? We're connected and with each other. We're connected with each other, and we're still a sunbeam, where we have our own joys, our own avenue of creation, are the way that we bring in light and life into a room. Like, Tammy brings life and joy in a way that Rachel Ann never could, and vice versa. And so can, our friends and our spouses and our children. And when we start to see and embody the spirit being that we are, connecting all of it, not outside of ourselves, but recognizing, wow, this is actually who I am. I'm not a body, slowly needing to figure out and maybe dabble a little bit in like, oh, well, maybe I'm a spirit over there, but disconnected. Maybe I have to, maybe I'm but my body's running things, so I must really be a body. Now, here's something, and this may be a challenge, and it's okay. Like I said, everything's okay. It's all good. Where when we start to recognize and see that spark of light within us, the joy, the peace, and it pops up because it's who we are. Now, we may have forgotten it because of the spinning protective personality, and that's okay too. But when that spark lights up, when you're like, oh my gosh, I just had this inspiration. I need to paint this, or I need to write this song, or I need to, stitch the sewing, or go be in nature and plant this tree and dig in the soil, or do whatever. It doesn't even matter what brings you joy, that light within you, that being within you. Here's the secret. This is you. This is the real you. It's the true you that we mostly forget about. And it's okay if you're like, yeah, I don't really believe in God, whatever. It's okay. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Some people don't believe in air, and yet we still breathe it. Like, it's okay. Air's still there. We're still living life. We're still surrounded. So we are who we are. And when you feel that passion and you feel that life, however you define it or don't define it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't need definition. So when we think about the joy of life, the joy of love, the joy of being, we tap into the concept, the presence of unconditional love. And when we think about the presence of the sun, we actually don't think about it because it's always there. We're always in and of this energy of the sun. Or, I love the ocean too. The ocean, beautiful, filled with life, filled with energy, filled with, beings, all sorts of creations and life. And we're each an individual wave flowing in and out of the ocean. It's like we've emerged from the ocean, we've emerged from creation, we've emerged from life, and yet we are a part of it. And you can never separate yourself from the ocean. But that's what the limited mind wants to convince us from doing. It's like, yeah, I know I'm salty water, but I'm over there. I'm a cup of salty water on the sand, and I'm just swirling around here doing my thing. And maybe one day I'll somehow crawl back in and get reconnected to the other people who have not been separated from the ocean. That they're living their best life, or at least it looks like over there, they're living their best life, but they're just doing their thing, flowing in and out of the ocean. Well, guess what? You've never left the ocean. Surprise! You're connected to the ocean. You're connected to the sun. And this is who you are. This is who we all are as these magnificent spirit beings. So, this is where it all comes together: spirit, mind, and body as one. How do we bring this concept? Now, people talk about it, but yet in the mind, in the limited mind and the subconscious mind, we've actually convinced ourselves that they're separate. Our spirit life is separate, our mental emotional life is separate, and our body is separate. And we have all of these different modalities to support the separateness of them. Okay. So now we're coming into this new place in life, this new, and it's not really new, but more and more people, I believe, are waking up to the awareness of how it's not separate, how it's all connected, and how do we do that? How do we embody the wholeness of completeness? And that comes into play with, the bioenergetics, the energy of healing from within out, healing from within out. And it's like the deeper you get, the deeper root. It's so fascinating and it's so interesting because the physical body, the outside body temple, literally heals when it is in alignment as a whole. Because it's like, oh, yes, I could support. I know who I am. I I know who I am. I'm connected. I don't have to fight. I don't have to fight myself because I am myself. And I get to work together as one being. And it's so beautiful. Now, am I saying, oh, well, Rachel's saying these other modalities are useless? No, they're all wonderful. I mean, what is more wonderful than supporting your external body temple while you're also congruently healing internally? What happens? You're doing it from both avenues. Like, you have no choice but to heal because it's all coming together as one. You're bringing the three-dimensional in with this dimension together into the centeredness, into the present, where you're not like one day when I get well, because you already are well. It's the both and. It's the both and. And that is what happens in the segmentation of coming together into that place of wholeness. And it's so beautiful. And that's where the freedom is, that's where the joy is, and that's where the peace is, because you don't need to know the way that the thinking mind knows details of XYZ, XYZ. You know, because you embody the peace of knowing, and everything unfolds from that. Sure, you can get the details, you can do all that stuff, but it starts from the peace, which is our heritage. It's who we are, living in that space of peace.
I have no words. I'm just speechless. I can listen to you all day long. Love listening to you. Yeah, I was very hard on myself all my life. I was a perfectionist. As a kid, I think I was very critical. I was the hardest person on myself. So, looking back on your own journey, what would you say to your younger self who was just beginning this path of healing?
Hmm. Um, I would say it's okay. When we're really hard on ourselves, because we're the ones that are hard on ourselves. Like, we judge ourselves so much. And the reason we judge ourselves is because we feel that sense of separation. Because if we really knew and remembered that we are always in this place of oneness, that we're not separated, there's no judgment that exists in the presence and the essence of unconditional love. Now, we live in a life of conditions. I'm just going to throw some stuff out there. It's like, whether you say it with your words or not, most of communication is not really in words. It's with body language, it's with tone, it's with, you know, your actions. You don't even need to say the words, but it's like, well, I love you. Listen to this. I love you, but you did this and you really hurt me. I love you, but if you would only X, Y, and Z, then I would be able to forgive you. Do you hear how like icky that feels? It doesn't feel good. And the reason it doesn't feel good is because it's not true. It's an illusion. And the reason I could say it's an illusion is because when we come into that place of remembrance of who we are, always connected to God, to higher source, to life energy, remembering that in unconditional love, there are no conditions. Love does not judge and cannot be judged. It cannot. Love does not judge and cannot be judged. That's what unconditional means. We are the ones that put conditions on ourselves and conditions on others. And when we do that, that is keeping you in a place of bondage rather than in a place of freedom. Because when you remember, I'm never separated. And once you get in that place of, I forgot, I'm I'm judging myself. And here's a clue is all of a sudden you see people around you and they're doing stuff and you're just like, oh, I would never do that. I would never do that. And you're like judging these people. You may not think you are, but you are. Like, I would never do that. Oh my gosh. Did you see her hair? Does she not know that is like the worst color for her skin? Okay. So what you're really doing when you're doing that is you're judging yourself. And you're just take a breath. And when this happens, because you'll see patterns and it'll be over and over and over again where the same thing will come up. And all of a sudden you're like, I don't like white cars. And no, I'm not saying personally, I don't care. White cars are fine. But I'm using an example like, I don't like white cars. They're terrible. They're boring, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden you see white cars everywhere. Do you ever like have that happen? Right. So it's the same thing. Whereas maybe as an individual, and by maybe, I mean, yes, as an individual, if all of a sudden you're seeing white cars everywhere or red flags everywhere, or you're being triggered everywhere by seemingly the same thing, it's time to get quiet and it's time to internalize and say, what within myself is not serving me because it's literally all I see around me. It's all I see around me. And it literally has nothing to do with white cars. Because as soon as you remove that or let it go, and, forgiveness. And this is really interesting that we're tapping into forgiveness here because forgiveness in the limited mind is probably one of the hardest things that we feel like we can do because there's conditions. It's like, well, I'll forgive them if they forgive me first, or I'll forgive them when they apologize because they did this to me. And okay, so once again, this is coming from a place of separateness. Because when you are moving in who you are as a spirit being who gets to live on earth in this place of freedom in a beautiful body temple, completely connected to love, life, energy, which is unconditional. There's no conditions in that space. There's no conditions in that vibration. There's no conditions in love. So, how can you move into a place of forgiveness if you're moving in a place of conditions, if you're moving in a place of separateness? You can't. You can't. So that's where the spirit, mind, and body come together to enable you to come into that place of freedom. Forgiveness, believe it or not, is more about you than the other person, because what it does is it frees your mind. It frees them too, yes. And it mostly frees you, because forgiveness is a bridge between the limited mind and the higher self, the spirit being of who you are. It's that bridge, and it brings you into a place of alignment. Because in love, there's nothing to forgive, right? Because it's unconditional. There's nothing to forgive because there's there's no judgment. It's just love, love, love. That's great. And why are we so hard on ourselves? Why do we feel like we can't forgive ourselves? Why do we beat ourselves up? And listen to me, I'm saying the why. See how disempowering that is? Today, let's just start to practice to stop saying why and to start to say, how? How can I move through this? How can I tap into that joy and the freedom and the life that is me? How can I grab onto that? What is God, the universe, life energy showing me in this moment, so that I can let it go, that I can change my story, that I could create my story? Because at the essence of all of us, we are creators, limitless creators, not limited. Limited creators from the limited mind. We are limitless creators. That means we get to dream. We get to be, dream, and then everything flows from that.
I'm speechless. I told you before, I can sit here and just listen to you because there's so much to learn from you. You are this well of wisdom that it's. And before we wrap up, Rachel, I had such an amazing time with you, and I want our listeners to find you. So, how can our listeners connect with you and dive deeper into your work?
So that's a great question. I don't do social media. I do have a website. It's rachelgalloway.com. And the reason I don't do social media or promote myself is because I literally believe and know that the people that need to find me because they resonate with my spirit. And that's another thing I wanted to just circle back up to about community, because we are such incredible beings. We all have such incredible gifts. And it's really, really important to listen to yourself, listen to your higher self, your being, in what is emerging for you as an individual in your expansive life, really. So, yeah, feel free. You can come to my website, rachelgalloway.com. There's a place where you can email me if you want to reach out. Totally feel free to do that. Yeah, I'm here, and I'm open for whatever, God has for me, and the people that are being brought into my life and into my circle. And Tammy is one of them, and she is so gifted. She is such a beautiful being, and I mean, honestly, you guys, she is just so incredibly gifted. So just flood her with love, and just tell all of your friends about her, because she is just a light that just keeps shining, 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 for in a limitless capacity, for sure.
Sending you all this love back. Thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing your incredible journey and wisdom with us today. I'm certain our listeners will find value in what you have shared. Don't forget to check out the links in the show notes to explore more about Rachel's work and how you can start your own journey towards freedom and joy. I'm going to put her website so you can find Rachel easily. Thanks again for being here, Rachel, and for inspiring us to live our lives with passion, help, and true connection with community. We can't wait to see how your work continue to empower and uplift others on their healing journey. And I love you so much. Thank
I
you.
love you. I love you.
Love you.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.